And it's time for another Angela Brown's Top 10 Favorite Books for 2020. I am Angela Brown, and this is Ask a House Cleaner. This is a show where you get to ask a house cleaning question, and I get to help you find an answer. Now, every year I compile my top 10 favorite books that I've read on business, life, and motivation to help you grow your cleaning business. And this year it was a little bit different because of the global pandemic we know as the coronavirus. And so the focus for 2020 was not necessarily how do I build and scale my business as much as it was how to take what we've done in the past and pivot it into a new world where cleaning and disinfecting have changed the way that we clean forever, how to reinvent our businesses when half of our customers disappeared, how to reinvent our businesses when there's a whole new wave of disinfecting that's come into the cleaning business, and then how to communicate with our teams and the new people that we're hiring. So there was a lot of ups and downs in the cleaning industry in 2020. So these are my favorite books in no particular order to kind of help you navigate these really uncertain, shaky waters. All right, the first one is a book called Words That Change Minds by Shelley Rose Charvet. And she's a national best-selling book, and this is a really interesting concept about how do you communicate with people on the way that they want to be communicated with. And so it's a whole process of matching and mirroring the tonal qualities and the behaviors of the people that you're speaking to in order to communicate with them in a way that they respond to you. Because we communicate with people, we want something in exchange, or we're looking to get something out of them, and we communicate with them on our terms. Her book is all about communicating with people on their terms. Fascinating book. Alrighty, and the next book is called Chop Wood, Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf. It's a fascinating book that's based on storytelling, and it illustrates little stories that make you go, oh, wait a second, that applies to me in my business. But there are things like don't get wrapped up in the identity of who you are, because if your situation changes, you don't want your identity to go away with that. It's a book that expresses the importance of taking on the attitude of gratitude for the type of work that you do, and that everyone in the company needs to take responsibility for the different things that are happening, because anytime something could crumble, there's somebody else to pick up the pieces. And so it's a group collaborative effort in order for everyone to move forward. So it's a fabulous book that I highly recommend. It's been recommended by lots of people everywhere, but I first heard about it on a podcast. And I stopped literally in the middle of the road. I was out jogging and I bought the book. I was like, now that book sounds like something I need to read. Absolutely fascinated by it, and I highly recommend it to you. And the next book is The To-Do List Formula by Damon Zaharides. And it is all about why to-do lists for most people don't work, how people bump stuff from one list to the next list, and how they just get really far behind instead of accomplishing the tasks on the list. It talks about the difference between paper versus an online to-do list. And I know that in 2020, I moved from a paper to an online to-do list, and it has changed my business entirely. And I love the way that we are able to share to-do lists from person to person to person to person in our team as a result of the things that I learned in this book. So it's a really great concept about how to take your old-fashioned way of making to-do lists and moving it to a new modern way and why it works. And the next one is called Content Marketing Made Easy by John Nemo. Now, I started following John a few years ago on podcasts, and I've been following his blogs and his podcasts and his books and all this stuff. This is a really interesting book because it talks about how we reinvent ourselves through content marketing online. And I'm fascinated about that myself because we have seen personal growth over the last few years in our own business by being online and having an online presence. But it turns out that the whole wave of the new world is online marketing. And so you have to figure out a way to come up with new ideas and creative ideas. And this book is chock full of new ideas and techniques that will help you get from here to there, and little different ways that you can tweak it to make the online marketing work for you and help you repurpose your content so you're just not on a treadmill of constant content creation. Fascinating book, and I highly recommend it. All right, and the next book is by Michael Hyatt called Your Best Year Ever. Who would have thought that 2020 could be your best year ever? But what it is a book that's based on a purpose-driven life. And having a purpose-driven life then filters its way into every choice that you make. And why people quit and why people fall off the wagon and why people give up on their dreams. And so it's all about refocusing. And there's a 5-step simple program where he helps get you back on track and helps you work through burnout to success. So it's called Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. And I tell you what, this guy's a genius. I've been following his podcasts, his blogs. He's all over the place. But he is immensely helpful when it comes to helping you create a purpose and then sticking to that purpose to get to your end result. Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. All right, and the next book is The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur by Mike Michalowicz. And I'm a huge fan of Mike. He's written lots of books for entrepreneurs and small business owners, and this was no exception. Fantastic book about what happens if you are in the restroom and you notice a little too late that there's no toilet paper left. How resourceful and how inventive can you be? And I love this concept because that was 2020 for most of us. We found ourselves in a situation saying, I should have planned for this better. I didn't see that coming. Were there any signs or any writing on the wall that would allude to the possibility of this happening in my business? And it's a whole bunch about how to reinvent your business, even though this was written before COVID. Excellent book to read during the coronavirus period when everybody's business is kind of on its last leg and you're looking over and you realize you're out of toilet paper. The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur by Mike Michalowicz. And the next book is How to Delegate by Joan Henshaw. And I found this book really interesting because as we move through these pandemic times, lots of us are reinventing our businesses. And there are lots of things that we cannot do as a small business operator because we've either overcommitted ourselves or we need the time to reinvent the business and hire more people and do all the tasks that were at one time in place. And so delegating becomes super important because there are little tasks that you are probably good at, but they're not a priority to you. And so this book helps you decide in 10 minutes, literally. It's a very short book, and it, in very simple terms, explains here are the things that you can outsource, and here's why to outsource them, and here's why it makes no sense for you to do them yourself. So check it out, How to Delegate by Joan Henshaw. Alrighty, and the next book is Memory Rescue by Dr. Daniel Amen. This book was of interest to me, particularly because I had the coronavirus, and my brain did not work like it always has. And it kind of threw me into high gear like, oh, wait a second, what happens if I'm a business owner and my brain fails me? So I went on this mission and I found this book. He's written lots of books about the brain, and he scans people's brains, and then he does studies, and he changes their diet, and he changes their nutrition and their exercise, and a variety of lifestyle factors that then also repairs and fixes their broken brains. And it's a fascinating book called Memory Rescue, but it's already changed my diet and a few daily habits that I have in order to get well again, and then also to continue through my older years with a very healthy, active brain. So check it out, Memory Rescue by Dr. Daniel Amen. Alrighty, and the next book on my top 10 favorite books for 2020 is The Most Powerful Goal Achievement System in the World by Mike Pettigrew. He's a best-selling author. He's bought and sold 15 different businesses. You've probably seen him on TV. You've heard him on the podcast. You've probably read his books. What he does is he teaches you how to find a purpose-driven life, as well as how to set goals and then achieve those goals. Lots of people will set goals, and those goals turn into dreams. And a dream without achievement is just a dream. It's not a goal with an accomplishment at the end. And so the accomplishment and the reward at the end is what he drives us toward, and he shows us exactly how to do it. So check it out, The Most Powerful Goal Achievement System in the World, Mike Pettigrew. My last favorite book for 2020 on my top 10 list is a book called Flip the Script by Oren Klaff. Now, it is all a book about persuasion, not manipulation. And if you were here during coronavirus 2020, you know that lots of people lost their businesses. And so now we have to force ourselves to go out and get more business. And sometimes it sounds pushy, and sometimes it sounds manipulative, and all these things, right? But the reality is we can become persuasive and get people to want to do business with us in a way that is meaningful and long-term. So Flip the Script by Oren Klaff. Alrighty, and those are my top 10 favorite books for 2020. I hope you enjoy them as much as I did. The whole focus of this year was getting from where we were to where we need to be. These books will take you there. All right, I'm going to leave links in the show notes to all of the books that we just mentioned so that you can find them, so that you can read them as well. If you are members of Kindle Unlimited, like I say, it's about $10 a month. Most of those books are free of charge. Most of them you can buy for $1 or $2, very inexpensive. I will leave a note that, in full disclosure, we are Amazon affiliates. And so if you click on those links and you buy those books, we do make a small commission. Not a lot of money, but it helps pay for the show. So thank you very much for supporting the business. All right, now I'm here giving you this list because I want you to be successful in the next year. These books will take you there. All right, if you found this helpful, give us a thumbs up, and until we meet again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.